Senator Patterson.
Thank you. Yes, I do have some questions on another matter. My team's made a couple of FOI requests to the APSC on my behalf. I'm not sure if you know this, and we just double-checked it again before. The phone number for the FOI team listed on the APSC's website and on your email signatures is currently not active.
Thank you,
aware of that?
I'll just have to... We may have to take that one on notice, and because I can't test it here.
No, I wouldn't encourage you to.
But,
Ms McIntyre, no, I wasn't aware of that, Senator. Thank you for bringing it to my attention.
Yeah, look, I don't want to dwell on it for too long, but it does impede the process of applying for an FOI if you can't call the FOI team. So can I encourage you to look into that, but more substantively on FOI issues. I, and I no doubt many others, have submitted an FOI request for the Briggs report, which was completed in August 2023, and the APSC has continued to refuse to release it under FOI, and the ministers also refused to comply with a Senate OPD to release the report on the basis of cabinet confidentiality. Commissioner, are you familiar with this issue?
I am, yes, Senator.
Why has the APSC refused to release this report?
Because it's a matter under consideration by the government.
That's not sufficient grounds on its own, just under consideration by government.
It's under active deliberation.
There are lots of things under active deliberation. That doesn't mean a report commissioned by an independent person can't be released.
That is the decision, Senator. So, Senator, I'll be able to help you as well. It is also subject to cabinet confidentiality.
Why is it subject to cabinet?
That was the other reason.
Thank you. Why is it subject to cabinet confidentiality?
Because it is.
Thank you, Minister. That's not a very elucidating answer.
No, but you and I both know that answering much further on that starts to divulge cabinet processes. So I appreciate you want the report. The report has not been provided on the basis that officers have outlined.
Yes, but as you know, Senator Wong, it's not sufficient grounds in the Senate nor for FOI simply to assert cabinet confidentiality. It has to be substantiated. So, how can you help me? How can I trust that when you say it's cabinet confidentiality that there is actually there's a direct cabinet linkage which prevents its release?
Well, the Minister, the officers at the table, Senator, are telling you the truth. How about that?
Thanks, Minister. I'd like to be able to take that purely on trust, but
well, you should.
Not reflecting on you or any of these officers.
You should.
Governments throughout history have been known from time to time not to want to release information and to have hidden behind provisions like cabinet confidentiality to protect them from doing so. So can someone please explain to me the specific grounds?
We'll take this on notice.
Thank you, Minister. In the terms of reference for the Briggs Review, which were published on the 5th of February 2023, it doesn't state that the report would be submitted to Cabinet. It only says it would be provided to the Minister in mid-2023. So, Commissioner, when the government commissioned the review or announced it, were you told that it was being commissioned for Cabinet or by Cabinet?
Can I just... Minister Gallagher in the Senate, in response to Senator Pocock's OPD, made the following statement in Hansard. The government will not be supporting this motion. The report referenced is being used to inform government decisions at a cabinet level. Actual deliberations of Executive Council or Cabinet protected from disclosure. In this case, the report is a central document for those cabinet deliberations. Which then goes on a little further. So I would have thought that's on the public record and that is the response, Senator.
But I'm advised, relevantly, let's stick to FOI for now. We can come back to OPD as well if we need be. But as I understand it, the test under FOI is the document had to be brought into existence for the dominant purpose of a submission to Cabinet. So that's why I'm asking this question to Dr de Brouwer, whether he was aware when it was commissioned. Did the government make it clear to him in any way that this was being brought into existence for the dominant purpose of a submission for Cabinet consideration?
Yes, Senator.
How was that made clear to you?
I'd have to go back and look at my records around that, but my understanding was that the Minister commissioned it for the purpose of bringing that to Cabinet at some stage.
And what basis have you formed that understanding? Was it the Minister tell you that verbally? Was there a meeting that discussed it? Was there an email or a phone call?
I'd have to take that on notice. I don't know. I can't recall the exact form in which that was communicated.
Right, you're very certain it was brought into existence with Cabinet?
Stop, please, Chair. Senator Patterson has a habit of simply peppering the witness. He did that yesterday and he's doing it again today with the same question when the witness has answered. The public servant has taken the question on notice. The Commissioner has. He's entitled to do that. That is the answer.
I learned
Thank
all
you,
my
Minister.
techniques from you, Minister Wong.
Well, I don't think that's right.
It is.
I don't
I've
think
observed you
that's
very
right.
closely for many years.
I don't think anyone would look at us and think we were alike.
Well, they may or may not, but it's true that I observed you very closely, and you very rarely accepted the first instance where someone said, "I'll take that on notice." You often probed beyond that, and I think all senators are entitled to.
Now that
I'm
we're
not
at
the
a count of
subject of
three,
the
are you happy to move on,
Not
Senator
yet,
Patterson?
not yet. But thank you, Chair, for the invitation. Commissioner, you said yourself in the State of the Service report for 22-23, which was published on the 10th of November on page 91, the review's final report to the government is expected to be published in late 2023, which was now nearly 2 years ago. What's the reason for the delay?
Continued consideration, Senator.
It's very careful consideration.
I made that statement in good faith at the time, and the government, the intention has to be consider it further.
What led you to make that statement? What gave you confidence that it was going to be released in late 2023?
I think it was based on some conversations, Senator. I can't recall. I'll take that on notice, Senator.
Okay, thank you. FOI documents that were published on the PMC disclosure log, this is FOI 2023/36, reveals a ministerial submission dated 10th of August 2023 to Minister Gallagher, and the third recommendation says, note, in accordance with the review's terms of reference, and then there's a part which is redacted, it will be published in full on the Australian Public Service Reform website. Doesn't that confirm that it was the government's intention to publish this report in full?
I'm not sure about the intent, Senator Patterson. I think
Question wasn't to you, Chair. Question was to Dr. De Brouwer.
Indeed, but I have every right to smooth these proceedings. I believe it is the job of the chair. Mr. De Brouwer has given you his recollection and offered to take a range of your concerns on notice and come back to you with some detail.
Yeah, sorry. Could you just, well, we will take it on notice, but both of us missed what you're reading from, Senator.
Sure. Let me help you. It is FOI document 2023/36. It's on the PMC disclosure log. It is a ministerial submission to Minister Gallagher, and I quoted the third recommendation, which says, in accordance with the review's terms of reference, blank, it will be published in full on the Australian Public Service Reform website.
So that is a submission from whom?
I don't have that in front of me.
You haven't established that that is actually anything within a Public Service Commissioner's remit in any event. But we will take that on notice.
My colleagues assisted me. It is from a Deputy Secretary in the APS Reform Office dated 10 August 2023.
We'll take that on notice.
There's an APS Reform Office within the APSC.
It is now. It was in Prime Minister and Cabinet at that stage, Senator, and it is now moved over.
Yeah, we'll take it on notice.
Right, thank you. Okay. It also says in that same ministerial submission, quote, the APS Reform Office will also prepare a draft media release to accompany the publication of the report. Commissioner, have you seen the draft media release?
Not that I have to take it on notice, Senator.
You're asking the Public Service Commissioner to respond to a ministerial submission provided by a public servant who was not actually located within, for which he was responsible.
Okay, I'll accept Dr. De Brouwer's answer.
But I just think it's
Minister.
sort of like saying, well, Senator Pocock said this. What do you think, Senator Patterson?
Dr. De Brouwer said he hasn't seen the media release, so I take him at his word.
I'm saying to you, it's not a relevant line of questioning to question the APSC, the Commissioner,
Sure.
about a submission that isn't his submission. and was drafted at a time where that particular office was not something he was responsible
Okay,
for.
well, I'm ready to move on to my next question.
Excellent.
There's a question time brief again from the APS Reform Office, which is released under FOI. It's dated the 3rd of November 2023, and the QTB says, consistent with our government's commitment to transparency, we will publish the review report in full. Is it still the government's intention to publish this report in full?
Who's that question to?
Pardon?
Who is the question
Anyone who would care to answer it,
to? No,
Minister.
are you directing it to the Minister or to the Commissioner?
I will give you both an opportunity.
Well, I'd refer to the Minister's statement to the Chamber. And she said, I quote, I have said that when we have completed those deliberations, this is referencing the Cabinet deliberations, this report will be released, and it will be. That's the government's position.
Okay, well, this one should be direct within Dr de Brouwer's purview. It's another FOI document. This is FOI Lex 1564. It's from the APSC. It's dated in July this year, so it would be under Dr de Brouwer's purview. And the language has changed somewhat from this QTB. The language now says the report will be published on the APF Reform website in due course, following careful and measured government consideration of the report's recommendations. Do we know why the language has changed so much in 2 years about the government's intention to release this report?
No, Senator. It's very consistent with the Minister's language, which is the final report will be released in due course following government consideration.
I hope so. The Minister presumably was reading from the QTB when she said that, but I'm interested in the preparation of the QTB. Dr de Brouwer, were you involved or did you approve the QTB before it went to the Minister's office?
I have to take that one on notice, Senator. I'll just take that one on notice.
Is it normal practice for you to approve QTBs? Would they ordinarily come across your desk, or would it go to someone else?
The office has taken the question on notice.
I'm asking a different question
Well,
now,
it isn't
Minister.
actually. You and I both know it's the same question.
No, it's a different question. One was a specific question about this QTB, and another is generally about the approach
we'll take
of the
that on
APSC.
notice too.
Well, Minister, you're not going to allow Dr de Brouwer to answer the question?
I just think I understand what you're trying to do. He's taken the question on notice, and I'm protecting his right to do that.
Right. Again, when the Minister announced the review, she said on the 5th of February 2023, in line with the government's commitment to transparency, a report will be published after the review is finalised in mid-2023. What I'm really puzzled by is what should be one of the least interesting reports to government, the least contentious reports to government, is attracting so much resistance and so much reluctance. What is in this report that attracts such sensitivity, Minister?
Sorry, I was distracted.
I see that.
Sorry,
Minister,
I should be riveted. I know, I apologise.
I will try to do better to capture your attention.
No. I will take that on notice.
What will you take on notice?
Well, you asked me why the report was so interesting. Was that the question?
That's a brief summary of the question, but I think you yourself acknowledge you didn't hear the question.
No, that's
because you were
true. But
distracted.
well, it's not a report that I have engaged with much, obviously, in my portfolio, and I'd rather take it on notice, allow the Minister I'm representing to respond.
Is it right that the report cost $264,000?
We've given a...
Senator, the contract value was $176,000, including GST.
Okay, thank you. So the Oz tender contract notices that say that Ms Briggs was paid $264,000. Was there other work that she did?
I'd have to take that on notice, and my understanding is that the review cost $176,000.
Okay, well, anyway, this is not the main point, but I'm advised Oz tender records it as $264,000. So if there is a discrepancy, if you could explain that on notice, that would be helpful. Why has it taken more than 2 years for government to respond to this report?
We've already spoken. The government's considering the report, Senator.
Very, very carefully. I mean, of all the weighty matters of state that you have to consider in your very important job, Minister, I don't understand why this one has taken so long.
I think that's a comment.
was seeking an explanation, but you don't have to offer one if you don't want. What involvement has the APSC had in the preparation of the government's FOI amendment bill?
I might ask Ms McIntyre to come along to that.
Thank you.
The Commission did make a submission to the inquiry, and that's been published. So that's the core element there.
That's only involvement in this bill?
I might just ask my colleague.
The Attorney General's Department did undertake a consultation within government, and so we did participate in that consultation.
Okay, can you describe what that was and the timelines?
I'd have to take on notice the specifics because there were a number of interactions. There were meetings and sharing of drafts of the bill. From
Right,
memory.
so that sounds like a greater level of involvement than just making a submission. Is that a fair characterisation, Ms McIntyre?
For the APSC,
Yes.
no greater than colleagues across the Commonwealth that were being engaged by AGD.
Yeah, I'm not seeking to make a judgment about that, but Dr Brown's initial response, which I won't hold him to if he wants to clarify it, was that the APSC made a submission. So I'm seeking to understand exactly what the APSC's involvement was. When did the APSC first learn that the government was seeking to draft this bill or bring this bill forward?
Again, Senator, I'll have to take that on notice.
Right, so don't have any notes with you to that?
Of the exact date, no, Senator,
Right.
and I wouldn't want to give you the incorrect information.
Sure, I appreciate that. Did you see a copy of the bill before it was released publicly?
I'm just reflecting. Yes, I did.
Yep. What about you, Dr Brown? Did you see a copy
Yes,
of
I
the bill?
did, Senator.
Okay. And in what context did you see a copy of the bill, Dr Brown?
It's in the context of consultation.
Right, but a few minutes ago you said to me that you made a submission that was your involvement in this.
No, I didn't say. I didn't mean that as an exclusive way of cooperation.
Right.
I did say that, and I'm very aware of the submission.
Yep.
So, and then Ms McIntyre asked Ms McIntyre to say the other elements, Senator.
Okay.
I
For the
didn't mean
avoidance
that
of
as the
doubt.
exclusive form of.
Sure. For the
engagement.
avoidance of doubt, when I asked what was the Commission's involvement in the preparation of this Act, I didn't just mean some parts of your involvement, I meant the totality of your involvement.
Okay.
So,
But he gave an answer and then referred it to the other officer who then outlined it to you, Senator. So we're all good, aren't we?
yeah, and I'm just seeking to have clarity on this. So, Commissioner, I'm interested in your personal involvement as well as the APSC. So you were involved in consultation as well as making this submission?
I was aware of the consultation, but I wasn't personally involved. I was involved in the making of the submission.
Right. But you just said to me before that you received a copy of the bill as part of the consultation.
Yes? But that was so that I was aware, including for making a submission.
Sure, but sorry, I'm confused. You said you weren't part of the consultation, but you received a copy of the bill as part of the consultation. So why did you receive a copy of the bill if you weren't part of the consultation?
I was included in the email exchange, Senator, and then the bill was relevant for thinking around whether the Commission would make a submission to the inquiry.
Okay. Dr Brown, did you have any conversations with the Attorney-General about the bill?
I did, Senator.
Okay. How many?
One.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
It was a briefing around the Commission's experience with public servants around vexatious complaints and the operation of the deliberative principle, particularly reflecting on the comments in the Thodey review, of which I was part of, as well as the Shergold review into the implementation of NBN and home insulation, on the impact of FOI changes, on the ability of public servants to give frank advice to government and maintain records, and the integrity of public policy.
Was that before or after your submission?
It was before the submission, Senator.
Right. So, again, I'm confused. You weren't involved in the consultation other than receiving an email with the bill, but you did have a conversation with the Attorney-General prior to receiving the bill and prior to making a submission? Sounds like you were involved in some consultation.
Well, I didn't comment specifically on the elements of the bill. I spoke about the impact of the operation of FOI legislation and law on public servants with respect to vexatious applicants and also the impact on the deliberation.
Right. So let me cast my net a bit wide so there's no ambiguity about what I'm asking. When I say consultation on the bill, I mean consultation on the FOI reform process generally. Right. So
yeah, I think that. Sorry, Chair. I was just about trying. I couldn't speak to Ms. McIntyre across the two gentlemen. I think there just might be a nomenclature issue here. When we talk about, and I don't know if Mr de Brouwer was meaning this, but we will often talk about consulting on a bill, and that means getting a copy of the draft bill and responding to it. So not a... I mean, obviously, Dr de Brouwer has had a number of engagements or a number of touch points in relation to this reform that he's referenced.
Sure, and that's why I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to give him the opportunity here, just so there's no ambiguity about what I'm asking.
Okay.
So let's talk about the reform process more generally, not just the bill narrowly. What has been your involvement, Dr de Brouwer, in the broader FOI reform process that the government's been undertaking?
My own involvement has been on is there a need for dealing with vexatious complaints or applicants, and what's the operation of the deliberative exemption, the practical operation of the deliberative exemption.
And those are the issues, but what about your engagements? So we know you've had a conversation with the Attorney-General. What other conversations have you had about this?
I've also briefed the opposition and the Greens and the cross-party crossbench with Ms McIntyre, and we did that through Minister Gallagher's office on those matters that I raised, and that was part of the broader consultation that AGD was having with the various members of Parliament on the bill. Yeah,
I'm more interested in prior to the production of the bill, but I'll stay with me on this one for a second. It's not an APSC bill. Is it normal for APSC to do parliamentary engagement on bills from other portfolios?
In this particular instance, it goes to what's the actual operation of FOI legislation with respect to matters that go to the heart of the APSC's responsibilities. The APSC, by law, is required to focus on integrity and stewardship, workplace management and capability of the public service, and this was an issue around those various matters.
Right. Okay. So let's go again to my initial kind of focus, which is your involvement in this reform process. Other than your conversation with the Attorney-General, what other conversations have you been party to in the formulation of this policy?
I mentioned those previously, Senator. I just answered that in relation to various members of Parliament.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. I'm saying prior to that. So that's after the bill's been produced. I'm interested in the early stages of development of this policy.
Well, I'll take that on notice, Senator. I'm struggling to think of... I've mentioned to you that I've had a conversation with the Attorney-General, that I've talked about this with various colleagues over time. But if you want some specific elements, I'd have to take that on notice.
That would be helpful if you could. How did the conversation with the Attorney-General come about?
I was asked to meet with the Attorney-General to discuss the concerns that I had expressed, including through the Thodey review and through a speech that I gave to the Mandarin in 2024 about the unintended consequences of the operation of FOI on record-keeping, integrity and transparency.
And just for clarity, was it the current Attorney-General or the previous Attorney-General?
It's the current Attorney-General.
Right. And so that means it would have been this year after the election?
Yes, Senator.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So relatively recently. Thank you.
Senator Patterson, have you got much more on this topic? It's just we do have another senator who wishes to ask a question.
I'm happy if you want to share the call. I can come back.
Senator Patterson.
Thank you. Dr de Brouwer, I want to come back to your views about FOI impeding frank and fearless advice because, as you well know, one of your predecessors, Mr Podger, has come to a very different conclusion on that. In fact, he, in colourful terms, has said that much nonsense has been spoken by senior public service about the adverse impact of FOI and frank and fearless advice. Where do you and Mr Podger differ on that?
Probably the starting point is where there's a lot of commonality. It's a duty of public servants to give their advice, evidence-based, professional, frank and honest advice to ministers. That's their duty, and we work very strongly to support them in that. And when they don't do that, then there are either performance or disciplinary, including code of conduct breach processes that come into play. And I would say that when it came to robo-debt, they certainly came into play in that instance. So, starting off in the duties of a public servant, I think there's a lot of shared ground, and most people would agree. I think where there are differences, it's really, and I'm going back to people like Peter Shergold, David Thodey, all the panel on that review, quite a few of the secretaries that were interviewed as part of that process, and former ministers in a range of governments who observed that they saw, despite the duty, that there were unintended consequences to the changes to FOI that had happened in 2009. And built on that was also what was deliberative, what were the rules around deliberative, had also narrowed over time, so public servants had less certainty. They observed, and again, Peter Shergold and others who were pretty serious, highly reputable public servants, former public servants, observed that they saw that coming down from actually less advice being put in writing, less frankness in writing, as a result of people being concerned that during processes where policy is being formed, that material would become public through an FOI, and in order to maybe try to prevent that or not let things stop, people weren't putting things in writing that they should be. They also related it very directly to the observations around the Home Insulation Royal Commission and the Robo-Debt Royal Commission. Now, of course, the Home Insulation Royal Commission and the Robo-Debt Royal Commission were much more than problems around people being afraid or concerned about putting their frank advice in writing to government. They really came down to lack of character, lack of leadership, very poor decision-making, and those elements. And that's well documented. But they would also say, again, very reputable public servants, former public servants, that this was a factor in people's minds. So that, Senator, is really, I think, where that conversation of consider, has the operation of FOI, particularly with the narrowing and the varying of what's a deliberative exemption, has it made it harder for public servants to do their duty? And that's what that call was to.
Okay.
To facilitate and enable public servants to do their duty.
Okay. They must have more confidence in documents being released than FOI users do, myself included. Another argument advanced in support of this bill is the issue of FOI bots that have been made, requests being made, either anonymous or otherwise. And in particular, Mr Butler was asked about this on the 2nd of September, and he said, quote, "We're frankly being inundated by anonymous requests as government for freedom of information, and we don't know where many of those requests come from. Many of them we're sure are AI bot-generated requests. They may be linked to foreign actors, foreign powers, criminal gangs." Have you experienced that?
So our submission, the Commission's submission, was largely around vexatious applicants and anonymous or pseudonymous applicants and the impact on deliberative material. We didn't go to this issue, but I will ask my colleague, who does a lot of work on FOI, to provide her observations from the Commission's point of view.
Thank you, Senator. I can say that the APSC doesn't capture data on whether an FOI is AI generated. It's not marked usually when we received an FOI request, how it's been put together.
No. Nor would it say that it's from a foreign government or a criminal organisation, presumably.
We can't report on whether an applicant may be a foreign actor because part of the legislation does limit the questions that may be asked about an applicant's identity or the reasons for making a request.
So how do you think that Minister Butler was sure that they were bot-generated foreign criminals and governments?
That's not a question for this officer.
Well, this, as we've heard, the APSC has been involved in the process of developing this bill, and this is one of the arguments in favour of the bill. If it can't be substantiated, I accept that, but when ministers of government are making these claims publicly, I think we should test them. So APSC is not aware of any evidence to support
And I would
that.
say you would need to take that question to Minister Butler.
Thank you, Chair.
not
And
to-
we may well, but I just want to know,
Witness.
for my satisfaction, is the APSC aware of any evidence to support that claim?
Well, no, you're asking, you can ask the, as you have, the APSC about what they know, but I think asking them about what a minister has said who's not in their portfolio is not appropriate. But what I would say, Senator Patterson, is we do know, and I think Legal and Con might have reported on Home Affairs talking about the growth in anonymous applicants seeking info about counter-terrorism, cybersecurity, national security settings and that their submission to that committee, I think this was 2 years ago, said the department had no recourse to consider the identity, location or intent of FOA applicants seeking this information. Now, I think there's a number of categories that could cover. It might be, AI generated. It might be foreign actors. But I think you might disagree with some of the policy prescriptions, but I think it's wrong to suggest that there is not the existence of anonymous requests and a very, very large increase in the number of requests.
Sure. So what proportion of requests to the APSC are anonymous?
We'll take that on notice.
It's not within the state of knowledge of officers at the table?
I just took it on notice. Senator.
Why do you need to take that on notice?
Because I'm entitled to.
So you're not even going to explain why now?
I'm entitled to take it on notice.
I don't think you would have accepted that when you were sitting on this side of the table.
It's been quite a while since I've been on that side of the table, but obviously it made an impression on you, Senator. We keep going back to it.
It was years
Probably
of my life,
negative.
Senator. It was
Probably.
years of my life sitting with you here, so it did form an impression. Okay, that's all my questions for APSC. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.